Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the stock market update video. And today's Friday, so we'll be doing a weekly wrap-up show. And so we'll be looking at a couple of datas, as well as we'll be looking at QQQ, Sp500, Tesla, Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta. And we'll be taking a look at the weekly time frame as well and see what the most likely scenario for price action heading into next week. And a couple of support resistance levels as well to potentially play off of. I'll be doing the commodities update video tomorrow. So make sure to keep an eye out on that for natural gas, gold, and silver, and the dollar traders. All right, let's get started. So we're looking at next week economic data, and not as much, but definitely this GDP would be something everyone would be looking at. So forecast is at 2.2%, which is a slightly bit higher than previously. So we'll see if it comes in hotter or weaker. If it comes in hotter, market usually did sell off before, but I think after Jerome's last meeting this week, market prices don't really care if it comes in a little bit hotter anymore. And ideally, we would want to see a little bit hotter, but it depends. So he's speaking again that day, so we'll see. He was a lot more hawkish this week, so that's why the market sold off. He wanted to hold rates for a lot longer, and essentially we'll be holding rates into June of next year. That is what's currently priced in, and a lot of Fed meeting people wanted to do another hike this year. So we only have November and December meetings left for this year, and they're saying that if the data comes in just a little bit hotter, they want to potentially do one more hike. And markets thought that we already had our last hike. And every time it just feels like they're saying that we're going to do another hike, maybe another hike, just depending on data. So we'll see what actually happens when we get our October CPI data coming in, if it's going to continue to trend up a little bit or not. And that would dictate if we end up getting another hike later this year or not. So with AAII data that coming in this Thursday, you can see that it was a lot more bearish this week. And we may potentially get some buying opportunities as well coming up next week. So this week, Fear and Greed Index is at 36. We haven't looked at this in a while because when it's in the middle, like around neutral and slightly fear or slightly greed, there's not much. It doesn't really help us. We want to see extreme greeds or extreme fear for us to use it more for a sentiment gauge to potentially play the other side. So if this starts to go closer to extreme fear, then we may also get some buying opportunities on a long side, versus when we get to extreme greed, we may also get some shorting opportunities. So we'll see at the moment. Let's take a look at QQQ to see if we're going to get some potential buying opportunities next week or not. So today, pretty much a wild swing day. I did not expect this price action, but it's still chopping. A lot of swings in range, but we're still holding just above support on a weekly chart. So weekly downtrend has not confirmed yet. You guys know that I talked about yesterday where Sp500 confirmed a weekly downtrend. Right here, you can see initial move, bounce. This is the pivot of the low, right? We broke that this week. So that's a weekly downtrend confirmed. But then we look over our shoulders and at QQQ, then you're like, okay, so QQQ hasn't broken yet. Initial down. So this is the pivot of the low, bounce. Hasn't broken that yet. And I said that if QQQ doesn't break, SPY is not going to go much lower. And pretty much it was looking good in the afternoon for QQQ after that bounce in the morning. But then we pretty much closed flat. So Monday, same thing. Exactly what we will be looking at. Is this weekly support going to hold or not and give us that equilibrium that I have been talking about for weeks? That is just going to tighten up into October. So same battle for bulls. Are they bulls going to play defense above this week's low, which is 369.86? Keep it simple, 370. Sorry, that's not the right one. 357.59. Right at this low. If this low breaks, we are breaking this uptrending support line at the same time, and we're very likely will come down to test this 354.71, this low. And if we're able to hold above it, let's say Monday, we got a red day, right? Weekly candle takes a whole week to form, right? So Monday, let's say we get a red candle next week, and it comes down to here. And we don't break this low, and a lot of people probably would start shorting because after we break this week's, and next thing you know, on Wednesday or Thursday, we bounce back above and close above it here for the week. Then that is still a break of support with no fall through for me. So we'll still be in this pattern. We'll form a lower wick here. We'll end up closing the week here. And a lot of people might get faked out by shorting right after this break, but then we ended up bouncing in the later of the week. So that's a possible scenario here. As long as we don't break this weekly support at this 345.71, weekly downtrend is not confirmed, and we may still just tighten up. If we even come down here very close to it and bounced, it's still a tightening range equilibrium going forward. So if QQQ doesn't break weekly support, SPY won't have that much downside left to go. Let's see if, give me a second. So we talked about that RSI as well yesterday on the daily time frame. 35. So if we get close to this low, we'll be close to daily oversold, but we won't get to 30. How many percent are we away from that? We're about, yeah, 0.8% won't take us to 30 for sure. We're still 5 away. We're 35 at the moment, and 30 is oversold. But we don't get oversold on QQQ that often. You can see September here, got it once. So it's been a year since we gone oversold. Yeah, bulls will have to play defense again, exact same area on Monday. And like I said, even if we flush through it, as long as we hold above this one, let's say we get a red candle here, close here on Monday, Tuesday forms another battle zone. Wednesday, next thing you know, we come back to it. That's still a tiny range. Or Monday, we could just bounce from here again and come back up to fill this gap. That's the two scenarios that we may be seeing. And the size of the bounce is going to be very key for me to determine if this daily downturn continues, right? Let's say next week we have a bounce and just a very weak bounce. We can't even fill this gap. Then we may actually break this weekly support if it's just a weak bounce after being decently sold off already. If we can't get a decent bounce, then we start to ship out a little bit of a red flag where this daily downtrend will just continue and potentially break this weekly support. So for me next week, size of the bounce is going to be super, super key for me. We'll see about that, how bulls play defense here. All right, S&P 500. So we took a look at this already. So we've already broken weekly support yesterday. And weekly downtrend is confirmed. Close at low of the week. Potentially more downside to go. And this 430 support zone is going to be pretty much the level that I'm looking at for it to bounce. Because we're at 32.26. When we get to 430, we close to oversold. So once we get down here, we can break it a little bit, come back up. That being maybe potentially a buy zone where you can buy it for a quick bounce. Not saying we're going to come all the way up here, but you can see nothing goes straight down. There's always bounces along the way, even in downtrends. So maybe I should get a quick bounce here, and size of the bounce will determine if we get this continuing downside to potentially 426. You can see this zone is the last level up support zone before we get nothing down here. That'll be a quick flush if we break through that. Several levels below us to look at 430 and 426 is where I would be adding for a bounce. Basically Tesla. Okay, that's relative weakness today by a lot. So it looks like this tiny range is forming pretty decently, even though Tesla and Apple is like competing to see whose tiny range is bigger. Big move up, big move down, big move up, continuing to tighten up. So we'll see about that. We'll see once it bounces back up here, are we going to get another one? So that'll be 3 touches if it does. Actually, let's try to connect back all the way to this guy. See if we can get that or not. Okay, so that's a lot better. 1, 2, 3. Resistance right there. And this, even though we got above it, I would just call it a fake out. Let me adjust this a little bit higher here. That. So I like this better than what we had. So that is a broke above, no follow through, came back below it. And on the weekly chart, you can see that it just upper wick. So that is still valid. Very clear resistance line for me. Downtrending resistance line and uptrending support zone. So we're going to tighten up, pretty much been tightening up here. So let's see if it continues to tighten up into October and November. And for bulls, definitely want to see it hold pretty much right here because of this area. It's pretty much a wall of support earlier. And so we're pretty much a couple dollars above it, pennies. So if bulls can bounce from here, that would be what we want to see. But if it does, we may form a head and shoulders here to potentially form that downtrend if we do break this neckline, obviously. But we still don't know yet until we see the size of this bounce. If it can bounce over 50% of this retracement, then the most likely scenario we'll come back up here. If it only bounces a slight bounce, like a 30%, that's a bear flag. We could potentially head and shoulders and go lower. That's lower. We're coming back down to test this area, probably. See that. Nvidia is just very weak. Yes. Let's see if did it broke its weekly support. Nope, not yet. Weekly support right here. Still hasn't broken it. So 403.11. Very close to it, but hasn't broken it. Can't get it back 420. So 420 is pretty much its support. I mean, sorry, resistance, because it was a strong support, right? Now that we're under it, it's going to act as a strong resistance. If we can't get above 420, then it was probably going to come down to test this support at 404. But as of now, need to break yesterday's low for that to happen, which is at 409. Hourly trend would be our guide. Big enough bounce, potentially shape up that hourly uptrend now. So if we break that 420 back above with an hourly uptrend confirmed, then this would potentially be the temporary bottom for Nvidia's drop, which makes sense. We are a little bit oversold on the daily, but yeah, this may be the bottom, but we'll see if we get the hourly trend change uptrend to give us more confidence, saying that is the bottom of the bounce, the drop. I mean, it's a very clear tiny range as well for Apple. This is the weekly chart, resistance support, and on the weekly time frame, we have been holding down here for 4 weeks because the market's been weak. Hasn't bounced as much so far. We are pretty much still just on it again. Pretty much QQQ closed flat, so Apple similar. Didn't do much today. It was still pretty good in the morning, but then it got dragged down afterwards. Still at this uptrending support line, and we'll see if it holds. So if QQQ does hold this similar uptrending support line, then Apple should be holding as well. So we'll see about that. And Amazon definitely needs to pick up its slack, dragging down the market. This week is down 8%. Like, yeah. So I'm going to say Amazon is probably going to have a temporary bounce very soon. Next week, just to cool things off a little bit on the shorter term time frame. On the 4 hour, it's quite oversold. Yeah, 4 hours is oversold and making a divergence. So we will see how Amazon makes a double bottom, but this RSI makes a higher high, sorry, higher low. So meaning this low pivot is higher than this low. That's a divergence, meaning you potentially get a bounce here. So we'll see about that. If we do, it'll definitely help QQ because it's been dragging down everyone this week. And we are close to support as well. This 129 level, you can see all this cluster of volumes here traded back in June. So hourly trend is definitely going to be our guide. Big enough bounce and give it all back. So double bottom. So now we have a double bottom. We'll see if double bottom holds and then potentially bounce back or not. All right, Google. Similar, very flat, not much going on today. Back in this sideways chop zone. This zone now. We were in this zone above us, so this is the new zone, but now we're broken below this prior zone now. So we're back to this prior zone. So if we can't get above the resistance right here on the prior zone, then it will likely stay in this zone, right? So very clear support and resistance levels. Can't get over 313. It's gonna probably come down to test this 127 and bounce between it. So the market gives us a clear direction for QQ. QQ starts to give us a clear direction upwards, then we may break back up into this zone here. 1.8 level. All these levels, rejection here, 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 here. So we have rejected again twice. Early trend, no signs of it yet. Big enough bounce, gave it all back, same thing, double bottom. Makes sense because QQ also did the same thing. Big bounce in the morning, give it all back. Microsoft weekly chart on the verge of breaking its equilibrium as well. But even if it does break that line, it's not. The key is this one, 311.55, because that will shape a weekly downtrend if we break that resistance, right? Support. If we break here, it doesn't mean it's a weekly downtrend yet, but we're getting very close to it. So we'll see about that. Let's take a look at the daily. Yeah, still got a chance to hold it next week, but getting very slim here. It's getting very slim. Yeah. Zero signs of bounce on the hourly chart, so Amazon's relative weak actually compared to other peers. Because you can see most of the other ones formed a double bottom. Amazon broke into a new, Microsoft broke to a new low. We'll see if Microsoft can pick up his slack on Monday. Meta, relative strength, you can see right away at its charts. Big enough bounce. Confirmed hourly uptrend right when we broke 300. Got some follow through. Now back testing, and we'll see if it continues. That's a good sign for Meta bulls. All of its peers, Meta bulls is holding a lot better. You can see, yeah, we are in a plus 1.1% today, and very clear resistance on this megaphone. It's just in top, but we're nowhere near it. So we'll talk about it when we're near again. So the most recent one will be this one. We can get above 305, then we're coming back up to test this downtrending resistance line. So far, held support 4 times, bounce off of it, and gave us some relative strength today. So that's good. Levels. And up, if Amazon shows up and Microsoft shows up a little bit more, Apple bounces off of its trend line, then we may get some bounce here for QQQ as well to potentially fill this gap. It would be my first target if we bounce, which is at 364.46. But we need to break today's high first at this 357. All right, that's what I got for you guys. And feel free to subscribe, like, and share if you guys made it this far. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the natural gas update. Have a great rest of you guys' weekend.